Nat's True Crime Podcast, and I'm going to talk about the Bridgewater Triangle. Solitude Stone is a inscription stone near Forest Street in West Bridgewater, where nearby a missing person's body was found dead from apparent suicide. The rock became known as Suicide Stone and was found with the following inscription: all ye who in favored days walk by Natstruecrimepodcast stream, love not him who human has laid cheerful to the potting beam, but the beauty that he woo. Profile rock that supports scene of where Wampanoag historical figure. Received the lost Wampanoag belt from King Philip. Legend has it the ghost of a man can be seen sitting on the rock with his legs crossed or with outstretched arms. Location is within Freetown Fall River State Forest. Isle Rock is also known as Old Man Josh's Mountain, was a 50-foot high granite rock formed location in Freetown, Massachusetts, just outside Assinode Village and near the Freetown State Forest. Wampanoag believe it to be the image of Chief Massasoit. The Wampanoags occupied the region of Rhode Island and Massachusetts bordered by Narragansett Bay to the west and the Atlantic Ocean to the east, and Chief Massasoit was a close friend to the early Pilgrim settlers. Joshua's Mountain was named after Joshua Tisdale, who was the first to settle near the site. It was previously owned for several years by former Freetown selectman Ben Evans, who sold it to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to be used as a state park. Tourist attraction. In recent years, the site has been frequently vandalized with graffiti. Despite a aggressive cleanup effect by the Bristol County Sheriffs. On June 19th, 2019, approximately 9:22 a.m., the Freetown Police Department, along with the Freetown Fire Department, respond to the Freetown State Forest Profile Rock Park for the report of recently damage to the History Rock Formation. Old Man of Josh's Mountain first responders and park officials discovered that a large portion of the rock formation has broken off. The forest officially has closed the park until further future notice due to the unsafe environment. The public is encouraged to stay away from the area. Joanna Ruba noticed something was terribly wrong. It was late afternoon on Friday, September 8th, 1978, 2 days after her daughter's 15th birthday. But Mary Lou still wasn't home. She had been out riding her bike in Rainham, Massachusetts neighborhood at 32 miles south of Boston. The orange 10-speed bike turned up on dirt road near her home, but Mary Lou would not be found for 2 months. On November 11th, kids riding dirt bikes came across her standing body tied to a tree 18 miles away from the Aruda home in the Freetown State Forest. Her possessions had been across in a semicircle in front of her and mostly crucified. Her head was near them. She had been strangled and abandoned. James Cater, a 31-year-old who worked in a Brockton, Massachusetts donut shop, soon emerged as a suspect. He had been released from prison in January 1976 from a shocking similar crime. In the case, the 13-year-old girl had survived the strangulation, and after Kada left her, was able to untie herself. Lime green car had been seen in Mary Lou's neighborhood. A physical evidence was found, and his alibi soon fell apart. Caden's sentence for kidnapping and murder sent him to prison for the rest of his life, but he continued to fight the verdict. The Fall River murders were a series of 3 homicides that took place in Fall River, Massachusetts from October 1979 to February 1980, alleged by a satanic cult. It was the onset of a period in American history known as the Satanic Panic. The first murder, that of a 17-year-old Doreen Levesque, was committed on the night of October 13th, 1979. Her body was found under the bleachers of Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School in Fall River. The following morning, no person was ever convicted of the Levesque murder. The next murder of the next victim, 19-year-old Barbara Raposa, was committed on November 7th, 1979, but her body was not discovered until January 26, 1990. Andy Maltese was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possible of parole for the Raposa murder. The third murder, that on 20-year-old Karen Marsden, is thought to have been committed on February 8, 1970. Portions of her skull were discovered on April 13, 1980. Her body was never found, been recovered, has never been recovered. Multiple individuals were charged in the Marsden murders, but only Carlson Drew and Robin Murphy were convicted. Carlson Drew was convicted at trial and sentenced to life in prison without the possible parole. Robin Murphy pled guilty to second-degree murder and also part of an agreement to testify on behalf of prosecution and received a reduced sentence. The Fall River murders are the subject of the 2021 documentary Fall River, product by Blumhouse and directed by James Buddy Day. Doreen Ann Levesque was a 17-year-old resident of New Bedford who had left foster care and had no fixed address. On the night of her murder, she had traveled to Fall River to engage in prostitution with another sex worker, Gail. Witnesses reported seeing Doreen being intoxicated downtown as several establishments and engaged in prostitution on Pleasant Street. At approximately 6 a.m. on October 13, 1979, Doreen's body was found under the bleachers of Diamond Regional Vocational Technology High School by two joggers who were using the school's running track. She had been sexually assaulted and bludgeoned to death with and was identification only after police result of a composite drawing to locate the newspaper. Barbara Raposa was a 19-year-old single mom with a history of drug addiction and sex work. She was reported missing on November 7, 1979 by her father after she had failed to pick up her son from a babysitter. She was last seen around 8:15 p.m. by a male friend who had dropped her off in downtown so that she could work as a prostitute. Barbara's body was found by a hunter several months later on January 26, 1980 in a wooded area on the outskirts of the Fall River. Autopsy results indeed that she was killed shortly after she had last been seen. Karen Marston, a 20-year-old mother and a sex worker in the Fall River area who had frequently contacted with police on the night of her disappearance. Police officers had questioned Karen also is proposed witness to the murder of Doreen Levesque on February 9, 1980. Karen refused to identify Doreen's killer, refused an offer of witness protection, and asked police officers to drop her off at a church in Fall River. Karen was reported missing the following day by her grandmother. Karen's partial remains were found in Westport, Massachusetts on April 13, 1980. The Wampanoag tribe believed that the Fall River, Freetown, Massachusetts area was haunted by evil spirits even before the European settlers arrived. Part of it were also considered sacred lands when Wamsuda, that the Wampanoag chief, agreed to sell the land to the settlers. It's believed that a factor of the tribe cursed the land because they were upset to give up sacred land. Many believe that the hauntings and deaths were continued until the land is given back to the Wampanoag tribe. It's easy to get the Masonic Ledge. You just pull into the Freetown State Forest and go into the office. They will hand you a map of the trail system. You can take a short walk to the top of a sonic ledge, or you can hike around the pond and get all of the views. It's a beautiful hike if you dare to walk into the Freetown State Forest. It is part of the Bridgewater Triangle. What is that? Sonic Ledge is a granite cliff in the Freetown State Forest. It's believed that granite in itself is haunted. The Sonic Ledge within the Freetown State Park. The granite in itself is cursed, and any building made with it could be haunted. Is it possible to expect evil spirits? The granite of the Sonic Ledge is believed to have evil spirits living in it. Paranormal investigator Christopher Balzano it is one of the people who specializes that the granite indeed brings evil spirits within it wherever it's used. The nearby notorious Taunton State Hospital was constructed using a Sonic Ledge granite, but in 1854 it was the second of the psychiatric hospital to be constructed. In 1975 it was closed and abandoned. By 2009 very little of it remains. Many of the historic architectural details have been sold off and now reside in homes and businesses throughout the world. Paranormal investigators continue to investigate the site of the Taunton State Hospital. It is home to many reported ghosts, spirits, and demons. Many of the Newport, Rhode Island mansions were also made of granite. Ironically, this includes the Sea View, or it was used by the Dark Shadow television show as the interior of Wood. You can listen to Christopher Balzano and Matt Mazzano discover paranormal activity at the Sonic Ledge from a Indian maiden to President Ronald Reagan. Matt Manozzi said he seen the Lady of the Ledge, where folklore meet the paranormal. When Matt Moniz was young, decided to hang out on the top of a sonic ledge. There is only one way out and back. Mazzano was the first, and he saw the woman out in front of him. She looked real and solid, not a shadow or some fate spirit. He turned around to tell his friends they weren't alone. When he turned back, she was gone. So concerned that he looked over the ledge to see if she had fallen. Later, he was told that he had seen the lady of the ledge. Christopher Balzano believed that people have combined Indian folklore with the paranormal experience that often assume that she is a Indian maiden looked for her husband. Then there is no base in fact for that. Assumption. Moniz also tell the story of a Air Force One with Ronald Reagan, and it was flying over the Ozone Ledge when UFOs started flying beside it. Jets were scrambled from nearby Anderson Air Force Base to protect Air Force One when the UFO veered away. Reagan supposedly told the pilot to follow the UFO, and he did. Reagan was commander-in-chief of all. I can find no other referencing to support the Chinese version of the Air Force One story. Thanks for watching my podcast.